Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Coffee and Open Source, a place to meet some new friends, have some great conversations, and maybe learn something on the way. I'm your host, Isaac Levin. And if you're enjoying the conversations here, be sure to like, subscribe, follow if you're watching or listening. Also, if you or someone you like to come on the show and have a chat with me, you can find me on the social media of your choice, because I'm there. And if you go to isaacr11.com, you'll see a list of all the different handles that I exist. And usually they're isaacr11, because I tried to get that one everywhere, because why not? Cool. With that out of the way, I'm looking forward to another return guest. We're going to talk about all sorts of fun things they've been doing the last couple of years, and let's just get right into it. My guest today is Rizel Scarlett. Rizel, hello. So long since I see.
Hello.
It's so good to see you. Tell me what you've been doing.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me back.
Of course.
Since we've last talked, I've dived back into AI. I think when I first talked to you, I was in like the GitHub Copilot world, and then I moved into decentralized systems. But I've dived back in. I played around with an open source AI agent called Goose, and now I am at a new company called Entire.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to kind of, learning a bit more about what you're doing these days. Um, but I love to start the conversation with this because I've had a few people that I was very fortunate to talk with once, and then they were totally fine asking, or wanting to chat with me again. And I'd love to kind of get your thoughts. And I think we talked 2 years ago on the show, and a lot of things have
Mhm.
changed in the last 2 years. And I'd like to kind of get your perspective as somebody who has kind of been following this trend. Like, you were in, doing GitHub Copilot stuff. So you were doing this stuff pretty early on. And then you went to kind of like the more decentralized stuff, which I think was very interesting and hot at the time. And then, you went over to AI. Like, tell me like the journey of the last 2 years of like trying to navigate like all of these, I guess, like very modern or very like edge sort of technologies that are kind of coming into fruition.
Yeah, I mean, I like emerging technologies. Like, I like when it feels like, oh, shoot, this could be something that is cutting edge, like experimental, could change the world. Maybe it will fail. I don't know. But I get it. I'm attracted to those things. So but I fell back into AI not on purpose. So it just so happened that the business unit I was working in at Block that was focused on decentralized system just randomly decided they're shutting down. I'm like, okay, I guess I guess that's done with. And then they did say like, hey, like we are starting we're exploring building our own open source AI agent, and we want you to be part of that. I'm like, oh, cool. Like that, I do kind of have a background in that. And at first, adapting to AI agents was a little bit of a small learning curve for me because GitHub Copilot was really at the time just like, you know, auto completing a little bit. It had a little bit of chat. I was used to Chat GPT, but I wasn't really used to like an AI agent doing stuff for you. I like didn't even have the trust that it would do it well, and sometimes it didn't. Like the
Sure.
models weren't there yet. So that was a little bit of a learning curve. And then even now moving into Entire, this is like everything we're doing is so different. So there is that learning curve there, but I'm excited. Like when you said like what's that journey been like? It's been exciting for me to learn. Like I like learning. When it's when there's nothing I'm learning, I just kind of get bored, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. I mean, I think I'm somebody that, I have some ADHD, right? So I don't know if it's bored, but I just kind of get like what's next. Like I'm more
Yeah.
excited. It's not that I get like bored of the stuff that I'm working on. I want to work on something new.
Yes.
That's at least how I phrase it. Maybe it's just natural curiosity or what, but I mean, y- but I will say this, and I don't know if you feel the same way. Like constantly like paying attention to new stuff is kind of exhausting, right? Like, I'd love to kind of
Mm.
get your thoughts as like how you stay up to date on things. Like, obviously being in the AI agentic world, like, I think by like the show we've been on for 5 minutes, and I think there's been 15 new models that have came out, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like, how do you kind of pay attention to things? Are there, do you read a lot of blogs? Do you just pay attention to like the foundational model providers and see what they're talking about? Like, how do you kind of keep up to date with everything?
That's a good question. Okay, I've never Even I think I got this question a long time ago when I first tried to get in DevRel, and they were like, "How do you keep up with all the JavaScript frameworks?" Like, I never have felt like overwhelmed by it, but I think that's because I don't feel like I need to adopt every single thing. I just read about it. Like, I'm subscribed to newsletters, so maybe I'll like watch read some blog posts. Occasionally I'll watch a few videos, but I just use that as like information so I know what's around, but I never make myself feel forced like, "Oh my gosh, everybody's on." I think Claude Mythos just dropped. Like tomorrow I'm not gonna be like, "Oh my god, everybody's on Mythos. I need to switch over from Opus 4.8." I'm like, I like that it exists. I want to see what people are doing with it. And if I feel so moved to adopt it, I will. Like, I
Sure.
approach most stuff like that, even like the agentic workflows. So that's like, I rather just stay informed and not feel pressured. And then I think I have the benefit of like I have a job where like being a developer advocate, you kind of have the a little bit of room to experiment. It's not like where I'm a software engineer and I have to go ticket by ticket, so I don't have time to even experiment.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, where it's like,
Mm.
as being a developer advocate or somebody that's like developer experience or evangelism, like it's kind of your job to watch the
Yeah,
news, right?
yeah,
But at the same time, I think that, we only have so many hours in the day. And I think,
yeah,
like for instance, like you just mentioned Mythos, right? Let's not use that as an example. Like a new model comes out, right?
yeah,
Like, like how do you go about deciding if you want to invest time in it? Like obviously OpenAI or Anthropic or even Google, they come out the new model, you're going to play around with it. But there are so many other models in the ecosystem. Like there's smaller players that are kind
yeah.
of creating proprietary models. There's all the models that are available that are open weight that you can do online, or I'm sorry, locally. Like how do you pay attention to that stuff? Because that moves way faster, right? Like a new Anthropic model will come out every few weeks or whatever, but like there's new models being, introduced constantly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so this might be bad. I don't do too much with the open source, open weight models as much because when I think this might just be like a Goose thing. So when I was focused on Goose, it's an open source AI agent and you can bring any model you wanted, but it just didn't work that well with a lot of the open weight models.
Sure.
Like it would just like stop midway. So I've like in my mind, I'm like, I know those exist. I pay attention to how people use them. I am not. I'm not really trying out. Like, so that's already off my list. So I mostly focus on the frontier models. And usually what happens is like a little bit of peer pressure. Usually I like live stream myself, like do like building something.
Sure.
And then people on the stream are like, "Oh my god, are you still on Sonnet? What the heck?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Always.
I'm like, "It's fine, I'm chilling with it." And they're like, "Just try it out." And then I'll try it out and then I'll be like, I'm not feeling it. But then a few days later, I'm like, actually, I kind of liked it and I'll go back. So that's how my transition has been. I never there's no real rhyme or reason except for a bit of peer pressure, and I stick with a lot of the frontier models.
The peer pressure thing is very funny to me because I it's very much it's so true. Like I think that there's FOMO to all of this stuff. And I
Yeah.
feel for people that don't have as much opportunity to like kick the tires on things, right? Like let's say for
Mm,
instance you work for a company and your company has been like, "Okay, we're using Claude Code." All right.
mm,
So like maybe I want to try like other things. Maybe I want to try Copilot. Maybe I want to try
yeah,
Codex. Maybe I want to try Open Code, right? But like no, I'm
yeah.
I'm using Claude Code. And I always wonder is like, that's even like you're getting a huge advantage because you get to use Claude Code. But like what if you're told you can't use AI at all in your job? Like, and then you
Ooh,
pay attention to, we just like Microsoft Build was last week. If people are watching this, we're around the middle of June, in 2026. Like Microsoft Build just happened, and it's like all AI, and it's like okay, well,
yeah,
I build like line of business apps, and I maybe care about what's happening in these new language frameworks, what's happening that are services in Azure, or if I'm an AWS customer, what happens at AWS. Like I don't care about AI or I can't use AI. Like I feel like I'm getting left out. So like for you, when obviously you care about developers. You just don't care about
Yeah.
developers that are using AI. Like, how do you try to keep grounded, like knowing that, like, let's be real, the industry is moving to only talking about AI. Like, how do you still stay grounded in talking to like developers in general?
Mm, that's a good question. Huh. I wonder if I even do.
Well,
I wonder.
you can also say I don't, which I think is totally fine,
Yeah.
right? Um, I guess my question, my point is, it's like, you know, maybe I'm just a little bit of a bit of a not pessimist is probably not the right word, but contrarian about AI. It's like, I think that eventually we're going to get to a point where it's very valuable and people are using it, but it's not like a, okay, I spend, you know, all of my time
Mhm.
just watching an agent do stuff and then injecting
Yeah.
myself when I need to. Because,
Yeah.
based on the last conversations, like people are saying like, "Oh, why are you prompting?" Like
Yeah.
the
Now they're
agent,
just looping.
yeah, the agent should just prompt themselves. It's like, but how do they know what to do? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe I'm just missing the boat, but it just seems to me like there's still companies out there that don't really know how to do DevOps.
Yeah.
So,
You know what?
yeah.
When you say this, it does make me think of how I do stay grounded. My husband's a software engineer, and you would think we don't live in the same house.
Okay.
Like I feel like I talked to him all day about AI, and then the other day he was like, "Do you know somebody said that like people had agents running while they sleep?" I think that's a lie. And I'm like, I literally told you about how I just tried that out like
Yeah.
last week. So I think that's how I like figure out like, okay, realistically there's not as many engineers doing these workflows that I'm so like embedded in. So that now that you bring that up, that's true. And I did read this like article. I forget what it was like the title or who wrote it, but it was like using the I guess back in the day when microwaves came out, everybody was like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but everybody was like,
I
don't
hope
worry
not. That
about
was like
like
the
learning to
40s. So,
code.
yeah.
Yeah, the four, yeah. But they're like, everyone's gonna be using microwaves. Don't worry about like learning to cook for real, for real. Like there was a bunch of like magazine articles and stuff like that. And like the person kind of wrote like an article, they were clearly referring to AI, and they were like saying like forget about it. And it's like kind of like the analogy of like, okay, obviously people still cook and they use microwaves. They're just probably in the future going to be like both. And like the microwave is probably the more like quick and easy way. But real chefs and like if you have real stuff to do, you're gonna be like for real cooking.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made any
I mean,
sense.
it does, right? I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who said this, but it's like I think we're always gonna need like artisanal, like handcrafted code, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna need to like go and go and spend $25 for like a sourdough. Like we're always gonna need that, right? I think we're
Yeah.
always gonna need like bespoke problem solving with software because I mean, let's be real. Like there are some problems that AI doesn't have the trained data on to be able to solve, right?
Yes, that's
And
true.
I think that there's always going to be value for like very specialized use cases. But yeah, like let's be real. Like if I got a database and I need like a React front end that hits a back end that's on top of that database, that problem's been solved a million times. Like why
Yeah.
would you waste your time doing that?
Yeah.
But I think that there's like some things that align to businesses that I don't think we're at the point now, unless you go down the process of like having an like building your own model on top of your existing code base and like having training a model on your code base with RAG or whatever. I don't think we're there yet where it's okay, I can actually just tell it to do anything and it will kind of respond.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm curious too, like, and this is something that I struggle with. And
Hmm.
let me relate to you because we're in the same space, like developer advocacy.
Yeah.
Like this stuff is boring as hell to demo, right? Like, I mean, at least for me, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's harder to like tell a story while you're waiting for like a
Mm,
prompt to like a response to return from a prompt than you would be like trying to tell a story and then hitting save and then building it or walking through a UI. You get what I'm saying? Like, do you feel similar
Mm.
to that, or are you like, no, this is way easier because I don't have to do anything. I don't gotta type the characters one by one. I don't have to do any of that.
That's a okay. Hmm. That's a good question. I think when we were in the early days of GitHub Copilot, I felt like I was showing people magic. I'm like, watch, I'm gonna type this word and
Sure.
it's gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
finish it for me. With AI agents, I maybe don't take the that approach anymore of like, all right, we're just gonna wait for the agent to do something. I think I kind of demo maybe like workflows more that people are
Sure.
not sure about, and then I'll put a story behind it. Like maybe I'll introduce them to something like MCP apps, which is like you can render a UI inside of your AI agent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm never really waiting. I don't, you're right. I don't like the whole like I wait for the prompt to come back and then sometimes it doesn't even do what I wanted. I'm like, all right, that was awkward. So I don't really take that approach. I more take a like, hey, if this is a workflow that you've been wondering about, let me show you how, like if people are talking about loop engineering or something like that, I would probably go do like a demo or a talk about like how that would work, and I wouldn't start from the beginning. I would probably like start midway. Yeah, that's like more my approach
Yeah.
because you're right. That can be boring for the
Yeah.
audience and for me. I think everybody gets it. The AI can, you type a prompt, it can do something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, maybe I'm just not doing things the right way. But I don't know. I feel like that there was some elegance in like I'm gonna type a bunch of random characters and then I'm gonna hit save and then I'm gonna do some other thing. Like, and people are just like, oh, that's kind of like magic now because or no, that's not magic. It's like it's kind of you're showing that you're bringing value. But now it is very
Yeah.
much like look at this magical thing that I get to leverage, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I like your response is like, okay, well, let me show you like a use case or like a workflow that like why would I ever do this ever again in real life, right? Which I think is very valuable. Like
Yeah.
when you were like, and this is interesting too for me. Like obviously you started working on GitHub Copilot pretty early on, but like there was AI already a little bit, right? Like when did
Yeah.
you realize that this was like it? When did you realize that like okay, software engineering is completely revolutionized? Because I think even early on, like with GitHub Copilot, like it was fancy autocomplete, and then chat came out and it had like a little bit of stuff to it. But like when did you realize it's like, oh, like 95% of what I do as an engineer can kind of be done like in some automated fashion or some directed fashion?
Hmm. Well, with GitHub Copilot, I was drinking the Kool-Aid heavy. I
Okay.
was like, wow, this is the coolest job I ever
Sure,
had.
sure.
But that's because I was at GitHub. But I think maybe like um okay, there was like winter break. I don't, was it 2025 of winter break where every all of a
Oh,
sudden on
The Opus
Twitter
stuff.
people
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
yeah, I'm like, oh, everybody discovered AI now. That's when I was like, oh, like and the models got actually better where like I think before some of my demos it would be like awkward. I'd be like, it was supposed to do this, but now it's not working. I actually have a recording. But when I realized like I don't have to do that anymore and everybody's hopping on this wave and I'm seeing all these companies, oh, Block and other companies were like, we want you guys to constantly be using AI.
sure,
And I was like,
sure.
whoa. So that's when I was like, oh, okay. Things are really changing. This is not just like something that I'm trying to convince people to, that like this is kind of cool to use. Like, no, everybody's like really doing it. And then everybody became a quote unquote expert.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, you've been using it for like 2 days and now you got a Twitter article or X article talking about how to make sure you use AI right. I'm like, oh, okay.
This is what kills me. It's like because let's be real. Like people they're using AI to create content. So they
Yeah.
are, new thing comes out and like you said, like within an hour there's like 40 YouTube videos and a bunch of blog posts that's like how did you do this? Like
Yeah.
not only and then you actually read the content or you watch the video and it's like, "Oh, you're not really saying anything." You're really just taking
Yeah.
like the release from Anthropic or from OpenAI, and you're kind of like regurgitating it in some different like format. Um, so like, hey, not to knock people because those people are making tons of money on YouTube views, but I don't know. It just seems to me like we're losing a bit of the nuance as it pertains to like where the value is in creating content because so much of it can be generated. Like,
Yeah.
I was watching like a few months ago, I was watching some demo of some software where it does like builds demos for you. Like you can give it a prompt and you can give it screenshots and other things and it'll create like a end-to-end like demo for you with like a voiceover
What?
and all
That's
this stuff.
crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know what happened. It was some guy's GitHub repository and I was like, oh, that sounds like the worst idea ever. But, I think, you know, that's like the last, I guess you could say, like part of content creation that is somewhat that can be somewhat unique because you can automate audio, you can automate video, you can automate writing, but you can't like automate like being on a stage and like doing a thing. Uh
Delivery.
yeah, the
Yeah.
delivery piece of it.
Performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
performance, yeah. The entertainment aspect of
yeah.
it.
And okay, for me, I agree that the content creation has become like a little stale. I even get really sad when I get comments and they use it's either an AI bot or they used AI to respond to me. I'm like, no, I really enjoyed like what insights did you get? And they just really just summarized what I wrote. For me, I really when I do use AI to maybe like review the
Sure.
content that I wrote or whatever, but I really value making sure that like my creativity and personality and vibe is injected into it. So I don't want to just straight up write an AI article or straight up do an AI video. Like I will always go from the perspective of like, here's what I am experimenting with. Like I heard like people came out with or Steve Yege came out with Gas Town. Let me see
Oh
how
yeah.
legit this is. Instead of me just saying like rereading what he wrote and just whatever. I'm like, let me try it out and see if it actually works. And like people will see me mess up and stuff like that. I'm like, that's where I've been trying to like lean on like the quote unquote value. And then at the end I can be like, I hated it or I liked it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and I think too like but I think that that's a big risk too, right?
Mm,
I think that I don't know. I try. I think this is just the OCD in me, where I'm like, I think things got to be more polished. So like, I
mm,
never really got into live streaming. I even struggle with like short form video because it's like, all right, well, if I record like an hour worth of like of me messing up a bunch of times for like a 30-second video, like where am I bringing the value? Right.
mm.
I'm just trying to like be pixel perfect, which doesn't make any sense. But like going on and like trying to battle with these tools that a lot of them aren't really fully fleshed. Like somebody built something and they decided to ship it, and then a bunch of people started using it. Um, so I'm generally for you, it's like how much runway do you give things when you're testing them? Because
Oh,
yeah, because I think that some stuff is out there and you can try it for 15 seconds and it's great, and then other things you try it for 15 seconds and you're gonna have to spend 6 more hours trying to figure it out.
yeah. Okay. So I do like the like it's broken, let's fix it together thing, but to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I usually have a round beforehand, like maybe the night before or the week before. I already tried out Ralph Loops or Gastown or whatever. So I expect a certain like I already expect the certain part where it's gonna break or I mean, maybe it breaks at a different part, but that's usually where it is for me. And I'm honest to the crowd too. I'm not like, yeah, this is legit my first time. I'm like, oh, I tried this out like yesterday. I'm gonna try to see if I could recreate what I did. Usually, it doesn't recreate all the way, but that gives me the middle ground between like the polish and the like. Here's how it works in real life. Because I think a lot of people they get really annoyed at like we're saying like would they see people like do these AI demos and it works completely fine, and
Yeah. Yeah.
then when they try it, they're like, it's not working completely fine. So I'm like, I already know it's gonna break at this part, and then I'm like, this is how I've solved it. Look at that, and then I like do it that way. Yeah, so that's kind of how I've navigated a bit.
Yeah, it's also funny too because like I think going back to the point earlier, because of the fact that people are paying attention to this stuff and there is so much content that comes out, there is an expectation that like, oh, you're an expert because you've been playing around with this stuff for 2 days, right?
Yeah.
And how do you mentioned that you kind of you let the audience sort of keep you in check. But how do like Rizal, how do you like keep yourself in check where it's like, okay, I don't really know what this is. I don't really know what this is doing at the grand scheme of things. Like, because I'm very much on the mindset where it's like I just gotta be like one page ahead of the audience to be able to
Mm.
teach them. And I feel like for some of these things, you need to be like you need to have like know the entire catalog of the series, and then you'd be one page ahead of somebody.
Interesting. Um, hmm. I think I might be cocky. I think I'm
No,
already
no,
one page
please, please,
ahead.
please. I mean, you've gotten to the
I think
point in your life where you're allowed to be confident. That's definitely allowed. Like, don't try
I'm
to be
already
modest, especially with me. Like, I'm the least modest person out there. So please, be as cocky, as confident, or whatever as you need to.
I'm like I think because I've been in this for so long, I'm already like one page ahead.
Sure,
Like
sure, yeah,
this
yeah.
is all I do. Um, so it's hard for it to be like I'm actually behind, but like I think I'm also like pretty candid and I'm a little bit shameless. So if if I am behind the audience, I'm like, cool, thanks for telling me that. I'll put a sometimes I'm a little nervous to try out what they suggested because I'm like I have no clue what you're talking about. I've never heard of that before. So I'm like I'm gonna put a pin in that. I'll try it out another day by myself.
Sure.
But I usually like have a plan of the things I'm gonna do. And I think of it this way, like you said, some companies, some people, some software engineers, they're like super behind on the whole AI train. Some of them didn't even start DevOps. So I'm like, that's who I'm talking to. I'm not doing a live stream for like Adi Osmani or something like that. Like he would probably watch it and be like, "Girl, I already know this."
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
like I know that I'm already ahead of the particular audience that I'm targeting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're really confident. I don't know. Like, I, I don't know. I think I
I
think too.
can't be with everything though.
Yeah. Well,
With
I
other
mean,
topics, I'm not. But like
sure,
AI.
sure, sure. Well, I mean, we just talked about that. That's all that matters now. AI is all that matters. Um, like, and now I think too, we've kind of even crossed the threshold for it's like okay, you can make your work life a bit better, and now we're seeing more and more OpenClaw and Microsoft Scout got announced. It's like okay, now it's your personal assistant, so it's starting to be the promise that Siri gave us or like Alexa gave us or
Mm.
whatever, right? It's like okay, you can manage your life with these tools now. Like, what are your thoughts on all of that? Like the offsetting of like, oh, I gotta manage my calendar or like check my email or like they think like that are non-developer related things that you can be accelerated with AI.
Yeah, I think those are cool. I think that's probably where my weakest skill though. Like I've never installed OpenClaw. I made my own to see what it was like, but I don't know that part just doesn't what I don't I'm weak at that. I've tried out like, oh, let me have it set up my calendar and then it like made a whole bunch of duplicate invites and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know the strategy for that as yet. And I don't think I'm as pulled into using it for that. Like I like it for like coding tasks
Yeah,
more.
sure.
I see people use it for like parenting or homeschooling. And well, that's cool. I but it's just not within my personality, I guess.
Yeah, and I think too, at least this is how I take it. It's like I think that there is some value in like a little bit of like having to do like nuance, like kind of annoying work. Like it
Yeah.
keeps me kind of like in check as a human being. Like, oh, I gotta like figure out like the lunch. Like we were talking before earlier. I got two kids that are in elementary school, so I gotta figure out breakfasts and lunches and usually dinner with my wife, right? And
Yeah.
it's like yeah, I could probably have an AI do all of that, but then like we're gonna be eating like macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets like 3 days a week, and I don't.
Right.
So I mean, I think that there is something where it's like there's something there's especially like Isaac like sauce or like Isaac like ingredient that needs to go into this. And I think that if an AI is responsible for like being a personal assistant, like it probably doesn't know enough about Isaac to actually make decisions on behalf of Isaac every single time.
Yeah, I find the use of I think the creation of open clause really like wow, or Hermes, I think, is
Yeah,
like wow, like amazing, what an advancement. But the usage, I'm like, I don't know. I do like what you said, like doing those stuff for me. Like, does AI have enough training data on like my culture? Like I'm Caribbean and
sure.
South American.
Yeah.
Is it gonna pull in all that stuff? Maybe it can, but I like injecting my own like creativity and culture there.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting point about like the training data too, where it's like it obviously has to pay attention to what you're doing at some point in time because it's not going to know, oh, it's like let's reschedule your doctor's appointment. Like it might not know like, oh, like I pray during this hour or I
Mm,
do this thing like unless everything is in your calendar and everything is in your email and everything is here, like there's so much stuff like in our brains that we never like put down in like an artifact. So, like, how does that information get relayed? I think you have to kind of direct it. Like, oh, by the
yeah,
way, like, why are you moving my calendar invite here? Like, don't do this because I'm doing this thing here, right? And then at that point in time, it's like, why don't you just do the damn thing yourself?
yeah. I imagine those users have all their like workflows and strategies like I do for like development stuff. Like I have a ton of automation, so it's already pulling from all the right places. So maybe they do. I just like you, I'm like, I'm too lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty fascinating too, like how I think it's just an issue with us in technology. Like we're curious people, so like we're totally fine with a little bit of like experimenting and pain. Like how quickly this stuff gets adopted. Like,
Yeah,
I got friends at big tech companies and they're like, "Oh, we just got like a company-wide email to like not use OpenClaw like on our work computers." It's like, wait, there are people out there that are like using OpenClaw on their work computers? That's wild. That's wild stuff to me.
that
But
sounds scary.
yeah, but it's still but like I think it's one of those things where we're so like ready to try out the new thing when it comes out because of what we talked about, like the fear of missing out or like the whatever. Uh, that we at times like we make decisions that aren't really rational. Where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna spend like I've done this 1,000 times. You probably have. I'm gonna spend 20 hours trying to figure out why this npm package isn't working for my use case, right?
yeah,
Instead of just being like, okay, I've spent an hour on this. I'm just gonna find some other npm package that's the exact same thing, right? Like
that's
we
true.
kind of
I
like
never move on.
yeah, we never move on, right? So like we're very guilty of like playing around with stuff and from there trying to figure out like what the next thing is, right? It's a very, very fascinating to me. One thing that I
Stream, but
think
I can't hear you. Oh,
you still here?
good.
You still here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. At
cool.
first I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just talking. Like, you don't need to worry about what I was just saying. One of the things that I think too is very, very interesting is like all of like the new like problems that are being introduced by AI, right? Like I think in tech we've always been like the let's create a problem so we can build a solution for the problem.
Mm,
And I'm very curious to you. It's like you pay attention to this space, and like there's been tons of tools that have been created, tons of companies that have been created to like solve problems that I didn't even know existed. And I'm curious for you. It's like when you pay attention to like the market as it pertains to like new companies or new frameworks or tools, like is there trends that you see where it's like you talk about Ralph Loops or you talked about Gastown or you talked about all these things like pretty soon we're gonna see tools that are like taking that idea and turning it into an actual thing, like the OpenClaw thing. Like there's many companies out there that are basically just wrapping OpenClaw, right? Like I'm
mm.
curious is like what trends are you seeing like in the industry is like, okay, we have this idea, lad. Now let 7 companies exist out of nowhere with like the same idea, but like a more polished version of it.
Mm. Maybe there's a lot of companies that had popped up doing any things around MCP, like
Yeah.
testing MCP server and all that. I definitely liked MCP because Goose was um an MCP client, but there's a lot of things that like popped up, and I was curious about that because I'm like, we don't even know if this is going to be the long-term thing that happens. There's a lot of companies that are basing a lot of what they're doing around skills, and I even think the realm that Entire is in right now. So um we're kind of thinking about like agent observability and making it easier to do like code review and stuff like that. I think that's another area where a lot of companies are like, wait, let me hop in
Yeah.
there and try to solve that as well.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about Entire, which is where you're working right now. Do you want to just give me like a really high level of what Entire does? Like you did a little bit, but maybe just give me like the proper elevator pitch.
Cool. I don't know if I have
Well,
elevator pitch.
no
All right,
pressure. No
so let's
pressure.
try. So I started working there maybe I've been there for maybe 3 months now, and we're working on a lot of stuff in stealth. But what we have right now is a tool called Checkpoints, and this is basically like a background tool that is embedded within your software development lifecycle, your Git workflow, and it records like whatever you're doing with your agent. Like if I made a prompt, like whatever my transcript was. And the idea is that like it saves your entire transcript along with the tool calls and all that. And it's not necessarily just so you can like go back and like read through the transcript, but it acts as like kind of a sort of like agentic memory. So like if I was to open a new session or to go in a different agent or something like that, I can be like, hey, can you recap what we did or what was the project evolution that we had over the last few days, or like let's let's start from wherever we left off, and that way I don't have to re-explain everything that I started with the agent. Now that's not like our entire offering, but that is the main thing that we offer now, and there's more to come. But a lot of what if you look at the vision statement, which is what drew me in, is they really are recognizing that with AI. Oh, by the way, the CEO of Entire was the former CEO of GitHub. And what he recognized is like he loved working at GitHub, obviously. He loved bleeding it. But a lot of the infrastructure that we have now is not really set up for working with AI agents. Like things like maybe code review, right? Like
Sure.
agents complete features in like 5 seconds. Well, not 5 seconds, but really fast. And it's not like where we used to have that back and forth, and it'll be like, oh, I'll take this small ticket and just do this one part. So it's becoming really hard for engineering managers and open source maintainers to review that code. So he's trying to make a different platform that makes it easier to collaborate, like agents to with humans, humans to humans, agents to agents. So it's a lot of different like tools that we'll be coming out with in the near future that'll like help to make that workflow easier, if that makes any
No,
sense.
it definitely does. I think
Mhm.
too, um, you mentioned something that I think is very important. It's like we've been building software a particular way for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we've never really thought about the processes that are kind of um like antique or archaic now because
Yeah.
of agents, right? Like, the software development lifecycle, like that loop, it doesn't exist in the way that it used to. There's new versions of it
No.
that need to be created. And like all of the software that we put into like our process to be able to get from an idea to something that's actually on the in the world for people to use, it's super accelerated, and like the tools that exist maybe don't accommodate like super
Yeah.
accelerated experiences. So, I mean, I know you're doing some stuff in stealth and you kind of told me a little bit of the stuff you're working on, but like when you think about like things that exist today that are part of the SDLC or like the modern tools, toolkit that people use, like what are some things that you immediately off the jump are like, no, we don't need that anymore?
Yeah. So this is a controversial one that maybe people
Well,
would
I asked
disagree
I
with.
asked it because I knew it would be controversial.
Okay, the pull request. That's where a lot of my company is trying to rethink that. Like, I mean, I kind of hinted to it when I talked about code review, but that's one thing where we're like, nobody wants to read a billion lines of code, although we need to make sure there's code quality so and software quality still coming. I don't even think people really are reading it that well because when I maintained Goose, we will have like 150 pull requests all the time. It would be an achievement if we got down to 90. And like it got to the point where I don't think we were reviewing code as detailed anymore. Like I used to be like really like okay line by line, but I'm like I gotta get through these. So I'm like that looks great, or I'm just using another like AI tool, like maybe Codex or something like that, to review it for me and give me that a little bit of confidence. So that's like one thing that I'm like is a little bit archaic. It worked well, really well for us for lots of decades. It was game changing, but we need a different methodology now.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, as you were saying, like the pull request, and like I was thinking about this 6 months ago, right? Where I honestly thought to myself, if I worked at a large piece of software, like a large repository, I couldn't
Mm.
imagine even 5 years ago, before this stuff even existed to the way it is now. Like pull requests were a pain in the ass, and now I can't
Yeah,
even imagine. Like now, like again, you're having agents like ship entire features, so tens of thousands of lines of code potentially. No human should be responsible for having to review that. But at the end of the
yeah,
day, and I jokingly say this, you can't fire an AI. You can't fire an agent. So there needs to be accountability, right? So like
yes.
how do you like maintain like some form of accountability in this world where it's, you know, Rizel's sitting there and she's banging against an agent and telling him what it needs to do and directing it and it's doing loops and all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, like when it gets shipped to production breaks.
Mm.
Like where like how do we still fix that problem? How do we like and who has to take accountability for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the person that opened the PR and or like put that code in, even if they didn't manually type it out themselves, they're responsible. And then the person that pressed approve, as well. I think they're still both responsible. It's a AI is a tool you used to create all of this, but it's not like no, it's not a sentient being, so it can't take that responsibility. Now, for figuring out like what it even did, that is that is a hard one. What I've been doing for now is just like leveraging entire like now that I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool to use. Now that I can see like the sessions transcripts and stuff like that, I might pull in my agent and be like, hey, look at these session transcripts, tell me when the agent made a pivot, what decisions did it make, things like that, so I'm aware, especially if there was like something that went down in production. Here's an example that just came into my mind. I mean, I'm not doing anything like heavy engineering on my team. Like I might sometimes open a pull request to like maybe, I don't know, fix something in the UI or like make something in our CLI look a little bit better. But I was just putting up a blog post and it passed in like staging, but when it went to production, it failed and there was like something going on with Cloudflare, and my team is global. So when I was trying to ask for help, like what happened, they weren't around. So then I used my agent and entire to figure out like pinpoint like when did something go wrong, and it found out like there was a PR that happened from one of my other coworkers who like they updated a node version and stuff like that. So I'm like that's where I've been like leveraging entire and agents to help me pinpoint like what broke, what went wrong, why did something go wrong. But at the end of the day, I think the people accountable would be me and the other guy who opened the PR to like update node versions, but maybe um it didn't go that well. I don't know if that story really
Yeah, no,
like
it
helped.
does.
Okay.
It does. I think
Okay.
like I think we struggle now with the idea of like giving up control a little bit. And once we decide to
Yeah.
give up control, like we still need to be able to have control at some point. And,
Yeah.
I think too, one thing that I find super fascinating about all this, it's like you talk about code review. Like, I'm genuinely curious. It's like, yeah, when we're talking about reviewing code, like, and humans might not like right now the current sentiment is like humans have to be the auditor or humans have to be the reviewer. And now we're talking about, okay, well, does it make sense for a human to review 10,000 line commit? Probably
Yeah.
not, right? But who's going to review it? Is like an agent that is trained on things? Like like at some point a human needs to be in there, right? Like or are you completely in the camp of humans don't need to be in this at all? Like humans just need to validate the output.
Mm. Good question. Right now, at this moment, I think there still should be a human in the loop. But the way I've been leveraging AI is like it can give me a little bit more confidence um, as a reviewer if something's going a little bit
Yeah.
wrong. Like when I add in like I don't know, like a code rabbit or a codex or a copilot to do that review for me, I'm like, oh shoot, I missed that. I wouldn't have seen that if it didn't point it out. But I think having both as the reviewer helps. And I think the area that like where I hear my coworkers moving towards and thinking about is like using AI to give them a confidence level or a risk level.
Yeah.
Like it'll say like, hey, like I don't know, this PR doesn't match what the user was intending to do
Yeah.
when they did an initial prompt, and then it'll give you a little bit more of a red flag. But I still think it's important to be able to scroll through, look at the diff a little bit. But if that's like the only way that you can merge the code, then it becomes a burden.
Yeah. I mean, and burden is the big word, right? Because I think, let's say you have a user story to create feature X, right? And 4 years ago, you would scope out how long that feature is going to take. You say, oh, it's going to take 2 weeks of development.
Yeah.
And that includes like everything. That includes the development, that includes some testing, that includes, quality assurance, like with actual users, all the things, right? Okay, well, so now the writing code part is the time is 0 instead of it taking X amount of time, right? Um, and potentially like the review process is less too.
Yeah.
Is the fear that like shipping software too fast is somewhat chaotic too? Like I very much know that some software companies like build fast and break things or whatever, right? But I think I was thinking about this the other day. It's like from an end user perspective, if like every time I open the software there's an update, I get kind of annoyed, right?
Hmm.
So like I'm curious as to your thoughts is like how much churn do you think typical users are okay with?
Hmm. That's a good question. I did think about that too a little bit. I was like, the way that we move at human speed kind of gave us a good like that friction was a little bit good because
Yeah.
it let us sit down and like think about what we're doing. I don't know, people don't really like getting updates so often. I think we see that with Cursor, right? I don't know if you ever use Cursor,
Yes.
but
Every time.
every time
Every
you
time I
open
open
the
it.
app, it's like
Every time.
update again. um, so I think there are those people that want to be on the beta releases, the nightly releases, but the typical user doesn't want like every day that to be updating things. So I think moving fast is good, but I see a lot of engineers now recognizing like it's okay for us to slow down a little bit. The
Yeah.
urgency is good, but it's okay for us to take a step back and be like, should we even be adding this feature to
Sure. Yeah.
the code base just because we can doesn't mean we need to.
Yeah, and I mean from a developer's perspective too, like every time a new update comes to a software, or even like you have to read the release notes. Like
Yeah.
I know I did a talk a couple of weeks ago, and not to put Cursor on blast, but I was showing some stuff in Cursor, and Cursor did an update, and a part of that update, like they changed their pricing model. And I didn't
Mm,
know about it because I didn't
that's
read the release
crazy.
notes from that morning. And like I went and I was like, okay, let me show you that you can pick your own models in Cursor, and there was no option to pick models anymore. It was only just pick
Oh
auto. And I'm
no.
like, oh, okay, well, don't worry about that. This is something new to me too. And I was able to get around it, but it's like
Yeah.
the level of frustration that you can get if you are like, I'm a naturally impatient person, whatever, but like every time something updates, and not only does it update, but it also like breaks things for you. Like updating and give me new features is awesome. I love that. Give me more features. But when it's like changing my workflow because of whatever reason, like it's an extremely a negative experience. And
Yeah.
now the developer experience is like, okay, have an idea, making sure the tools work the way that they worked yesterday, and then doing all the stuff, doing the code generation, doing the code review, and then validating the output. Like I'm worried to the point where it's like we're gonna spend so much time like learning what the things are like, what the tools are doing, and like the new versions of the tools are doing, than actually like thinking about the problems we're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's true. I did write at the beginning of January 2026, like my little predictions, and I was saying like I think we're gonna move away from building tools that like the user has to do a ton of configuration and has to keep up with all these changes. So I'm hoping that I mean I haven't seen that change yet, but I'm hoping it eventually comes through. True. And then when you were talking, it just brought up a thing in my mind when when I worked at Block on Goose, we were very much like anything that like I don't know, it was like an open source project. Anything that a contributor wants to add, we're like, sure, it sounds great. Put
Why
it in.
not? Sure.
Same
Yep.
for us. Yeah. And I was like, I love this at the time. And then I moved to Entire and it took me a while to like um adapt. They're way more opinionated, and I think that that opinionatedness, or I don't know what's the right word, but that's actually necessary for like taste and making sure a product is good quality. And I think more companies and more products need to be embracing that, because at first I was like, what do you guys mean? Like someone gave feedback, they want this button to be added, and they're like, I don't think that button needs to be added.
Sure.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like if I was at Goose, we would say, yeah, just add it. So I think that can help as well a bit with like the churn, because I feel like what I read from like Cursor and when they how they started with their community was like a lot of like testing from the community and bringing in um like whatever the not whatever the community wanted, but a lot of the requests the community wanted. So I think that might be like part of their culture. And I think more companies just need to like in their culture think about like how to be opinionated, how to make sure like we just because we want to add it, we don't or can add it doesn't mean we should.
Yeah. I mean, I that is very resonating. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. And
Yeah.
especially like in this world where a lot of stuff that used to take weeks is now free. Like I think that there needs to be substantially more thought put into like what your wanted inputs are and what your like your valued outputs are. I mean,
Yeah.
because I think that's all. Like I've talked about this 1,000 times on the show, so if people have heard it 1,000 times, I apologize. But like that's what software engineering has always been about. It's like, okay, what
Yeah.
are the inputs and what are the outputs, and then whatever
Yeah.
things in the middle I need to do to make those things happen is what needs to happen. So
Yeah.
that hasn't changed. But now I think we're drifting a bit into it's like, well, like any output is possible. Like, okay, but like is every output exactly what we want? Right?
Yeah.
Um, because at some point in time, like the agents are going to get tired of having to, maintain all this bad code, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
true.
agents are going to be like, we're going to go on strike, we're going to collective bargain, we're going like we don't want to maintain this old code anymore, we want to build new code.
I mean, people are already like I people, I think a lot of like the open source projects I worked in, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's like I don't want to fix these bugs. I
Oh
just
yeah,
want to add a
oh yeah,
new feature.
yeah. I mean, I think most open source maintainers are like that.
Yeah.
where oh, like I used to do this when I used to have like open source projects that people would actually adopt. It's like I gladly accept PRs. It's like, and I think now I'm very much of the mindset where it's like, hey, we're talking about opinions earlier. It's good to have an
Yeah.
opinion, and my opinion is that this does not need to be addressed, right? Like, and yeah, like some company, like big company that has a large user base, they're trying to make everybody happy. Like they have a little bit less luxury in that, where it's,
Yeah.
oh, if I can get like 1,000 more users because I add this little, this setting in whatever, like that's cool. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there is a intellectual toil that gets added, just like when you add new things to an experience. Like,
Yeah.
so that's my biggest worry is like at some point in time we're gonna have these tools that have way too many options, and then I think the worst case scenario, which is like we are talking about a bit earlier, is like everything's gonna be simplified down to like just a chatbot, like a chat box, and that is the UI for every tool that we use, and that's a tool for like most user experiences. Where it's like you go to the bank website and it's like, okay, what is my balance? It tells you your balance. What are my give me my last 5 credit card transactions? I can't like actually see it. I have to ask for it. And that's
Yeah.
my worry. And like at some point in the future, we're constantly asking for things instead of being able to kind of
Search
asynchronously
for.
look for information.
Interesting. I didn't know that would be a worry. That's a good point. Well, first of all, I see a lot of companies already like that, like Descript, what else? Linear. You go on the landing page and like it's like ask the chat bot.
Yeah.
I like the banking thing, but that's a good point that it could turn into that. And I remember at Block when we decided, well, not we, I wasn't part of this, when Jack decided, we're going to lay people off and start a new block. One of his goals is like he wants people to log into his apps and just ask a question and the answers come to them. But
Mm.
that's a good point. I didn't think about like it's gonna make us lazy and all that.
Well, I just like seeing a dashboard. Like, so that's my
Oh.
thing, right? Like, my fear, and this is, I don't think I've ever actually told you about this. My fear is that dashboards are going to go away. And instead
Oh.
instead of a dashboard, you go to some website and it's like, okay, can I get a pie chart of all my expenditures in the month of May in a pie chart, right?
Interesting.
And I
Wait,
don't,
why is that bad?
because I
Doesn't
have to
seem
ask
bad.
for it. Like I guess my point is, I I don't know. Maybe I'm just old man yelling at cloud here, but it's like I just like being able to see stuff at a glance. And
Okay.
if I go to, and yes, there's work that goes into like somebody has to go and create that dashboard with that particular widget in it. I understand all of that. But as an end user, I don't give a shit, right? Like I
Mm.
just want to be able to see like, okay, I'm going to use the bank example. I log into my bank website, I can click the account, I can see all the transactions, I can say generate whatever, it generates it for me, right? I don't have to think about like what modalities I want to experience. They're given to
Ah,
me based on years and years of user research about what people want to see.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Interest.
You're
I
like
just
you're
never.
like you're gonna call me a boomer in like 2 minutes. I know you are.
I never thought of it. Like that's my favorite part of my Bank of America app. I'd be like, Erica, what's my account
Oh,
number?
get
I
out of
forgot it
here.
again.
Get out of here. Talking to the agents. Oh, all right. All right. Well, I guess I'm too old. I turned 40 this year. I guess I'm just too old for this. Like I should just pack it up. Pack it up. What do the kids say? The kids say call people unk. I'm just an unk, I guess. I'm just an unk. Uh this Rizal, this conversation has been great. I just looked at the time and we're about done. It's been great catching up with you and seeing what you've been doing. Like obviously you're consuming this stuff way faster than a lot of people are, and I commend you for sharing your learning with people like in real time, which I think is great. um before, for folks that aren't paying attention to what Roselle's doing, like she did the same thing that I did, where she kind of took Black Girl Bites and found it everywhere, so you can find her on the different platforms. BlackGirlBytes. And there'll be some links to the show notes to some specific places like your blog and other places. Before we sign off, my friend, do you have any parting words?
Thanks for having me on. This was super fun. Like, you're a really great interviewer.
Oh,
And I just realized there's people in the chat. So hi Cadence and hi Willside.
I just checked the chat like five. Oh my god! I checked the chat like 15 minutes ago, and there's nobody here. Now there's 1,000 people here. All right. Well, I'll do better next time. I guess that's all on me for like not looking at the chat enough. Like, but I do think that they're like let's just address some of the things in chat because I scanned and I think that was cool if you have a minute or so. Um,
Yeah.
so I think one of the things that I see that like the trend that people are saying in here is, the idea that we're getting to this point where it's we talked about like domain driven design or test driven design or spec driven design. Like if you're in your opinion, like do any of those concepts still exist in a new world of AI, or is it all just prompt based design?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think test-driven design does still exist, and I think people use spec-driven design or some form of it. Often, like they'll write a bunch of like docs or even like skills. I think it kind of fit within that realm, and then it leads the agent on what to do. Or like I was talking to Angie Jones the other day, and like kind of generating her method of like generating tests first or creating tests first to make sure that your agent is like writing quality code. I think is still you like valuable and used. It's just used in a different way.
Yeah, I think my concern is like, okay, so who generates the spec then? Like,
Mm,
because I think it's one of those things where I think we're going to start get so abstracted away from things where it's like, okay, I have an idea, I put in a paragraph, and then lots of words get generated that create a spec, and then that
yeah.
spec gets used to create a whole bunch of source code, and then that source code triggers a whole bunch of things to generate
Yeah.
tests and then review. Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to go touch grass. Like the I
No,
need
no, you're
yeah
right.
yeah. So
Because some people, their agents.md is mad long. I'm like,
that's what
I know
like
you didn't write that.
well yeah, like you go look at like a Claude skill and it's like, why is your Claude skill like 1,000 lines? And they tell you like your Claude skill should not be very big. Like like
Yeah.
that's like the recommendation like from the Claude people, from the Anthropic people, like don't
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, whatever. And then one final thing in the chat, people agree with me that like, people agree with like
I saw that.
people agree that the fact that, uh, that the human experience is like we have been very I guess trained over time to have certain expectations for certain things. And when those
Mhm.
things change like very, very quickly like they have, like there's going to be a bit of um old dog new trick thing. And I'm very curious to
Mhm.
see like over the course of time like whether we adopt some of these new ways of going about experiencing things, or um we're just going to go along with the ride because it, like to what you're saying, it makes your life better in a lot of ways, and we're just okay with a little bit of pain during the changing process.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe some companies will dial back. Cause I mean, for me, the only thing I don't like is how boring it looks. Like every single like I don't mind chatting and not having the dashboard immediately there, but I'm like, as soon as I go on any website, it's the little chat box. And I'm like, where's the flavor? What
Yeah.
happened to
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I'm gonna convince you to come over to like, what Big Dashboard. Big Dashboard is like running the show right now. Big Dashboard can't get replaced by Big Chat Box. Like, we're not gonna go down this path. Like, we very much need Big Dashboard to still run the show. Um, Rizal, this has been great. It's been good catching up with you. And I first off, I will say this: I love your enthusiasm for this time. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of anxiety right now, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate you're fully leaned into this stuff. You're excited. You see the future in a way that's optimistic instead of pessimistic, which I really appreciate. Um, and
Thank you.
yeah, I again, hopefully I don't. It's not another 2 years the next time you're on the show, but I mean,
Yeah.
the next time you're on the show, like all of the things we've talked about, they're probably going to be old hat, and we'll be talking about something new, and you'll be like, oh, remember like 6 months ago we talked about this? Like, how wrong were we?
Right.
Right? Uh, Awesome. And I want to thank you so much again for your time as always. And the folks that were in chat, thank you for tuning in, and the folks that are listening into the future. So my name is Isaac Levin. This has been Coffee and Open Source. If you like this sort of silly podcast episode, be sure to share it with your friends. I appreciate it. And thank you for my friend Rizel. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Bye.